Hey comic book fans, welcome to Comic Fix, your one-stop shop for every single thing DC Comics, to some creator-owned, to a little bit Marvel. My name's David, welcome to Comic Fix. Now, this is my edition where I do it on my lunch break, and so I'm going to be talking about a couple books that I read this week, starting with my Marvel. Now, the first book I read was Punisher Max. The reason why I picked this book up was because I saw it on CBR as a preview, and I really dig it. I thought the action scenes looked awesome, the artwork was really good, and the writing was really witty. So, I picked it up. Was I disappointed? No, not in the least. So, the storyline is the Punisher is suspected of killing 3 cops. And he's on the run from the cops and even the Avengers. So, will he be able to get his name cleared, or will the Avengers be able to stop him? Just have to read to find out. Now let's get on to the good, the bad, and whether or not to get it. So the good. There's awesome scenes with Spider-Man and the Punisher. And if you ever thought who would win, Punisher or Spider-Man, this fight told you everything. Spider-Man just has a quickness, he has a strength, he has everything that Punisher doesn't. Punisher's just a human being. But the one thing that Punisher always has is something behind his sleeve to put the fight in his favor. So there's some great action scenes. The art in here is just so well done, and the pacing is so good that it was just a fun blast to read. And for the first time in a long time, Spider-Man actually sounded like Spider-Man, and he looked like Spider-Man. Not to say I really have disliked Dan Slott's run so far, or the last part of Dan Slott's run. And so it was good to see a good old Spider-Man issue. Now, the parts that were really lacking for me, or the points that after Spider-Man got his ass handed to him, he goes to the Avengers, and he tells them, hey, we need to go and stop the Punisher. Yes, he is just killing the bad guys, but we need to stop him, nonetheless. And those points with that speech and everything was just, okay, this is kind of, I've seen it all before. But then there was another great scene with Wolverine and the Punisher. I'm not going to ruin it for you. Have to go read the book to find out. But just know, this book is really good and it's really fun read. I'm going to give Punisher War Zones, issue 1 of 5, a 3.5 out of 5. Fun read, good art, good writing, just a kind of mediocre middle part. So the next book in my reviews is Wolverine Max. So I always liked the Max series, especially with the Punisher. I liked how the adult themes that were in there. Yes, there was all that violence and all that cursing, but I went in there for the adult story. And so I went into this Wolverine Max series expecting the same. Now, was it the same, or was it just mediocre to just a bloodbath? So the storyline is that Wolverine has been in a plane crash. People come and rescue him. He finds himself in Tokyo. He doesn't know who he is. And then I remember, this sounds a lot like the Bourne Identity. And you know what? It actually is. And so Wolverine's on the run, doesn't know who he is, and doesn't know what his mission is. And that's where I was just like, wow, really? Have you guys ran out of ideas? It was just really bad. And then to have the first artist, the regular artist on here, he was doing a really good job. I mean, I enjoyed his art a lot. But then you got onto the guy who does the backstory. His art was something that I just did not enjoy whatsoever. I mean, just the way he drew Wolverine was just a primal look to him that I just did not like whatsoever. And then all these lines in his eyes, just, I don't know. It just wasn't for me whatsoever. So, in the end, it's a mediocre story, a story you've seen thousands of times before, an artwork that's good at the beginning, and then in the middle, not so good, and then gets back to good. Will I be continuing this series after issue number 1? No, because it's $3.99 and it's giving me a story I've seen 100 times before, and the action scenes are not all that great. I mean, yes, they are bloody and gory, but I mean, I could get better Wolverine anywhere else. So in the end, it gets a 1 out of 5, and I would suggest people stay away from this series, and if you're interested, wait for it to come out in the collections, and then see if you like it then. So, let's see what time it is. Okay, we got a couple times for a couple more reviews. The next one is Batman the Dark Knight. So, Batman finds himself as Scarecrow's prisoner. The Scarecrow has a new fear gas which he tries on Bruce Wayne. And what his effects is, you see in this book. So Greg Hurwitz, as a writer, I'm really enjoying him. He does this psychological stuff where he gets into the mind of the prisoner and the guy who's held in captive. And it's just really good psychological part. Especially at the beginning. At the beginning, you see Scarecrow going and taking the tears of this little girl. And the little girl tells Scarecrow, if you let me go, you won't be alone. Look, I drew this for you. And you see this drawing that she did for him. I don't know if you can see it well, but she did. And just to see this point where the Scarecrow sees this letter or this picture and just he goes to the ground just like thinking, what am I doing? And you get this terrific scene where you see the past of the Scarecrow and see him as a child and what his father put him through. And it's just such good storytelling. The pacing is very good. The psychological parts are very good. And I'm thinking of this girl that she's kind of thinking, not just, I'm going to do this little ploy on him, but as I've heard in psychological stuff, is that when the prisonee is, or the prisoner, kind of feels sorry for the people who's held him captive, and they actually become to protect them and to want to form a relationship with them. So that was just very interesting to get the psychological part. The art in here by David Finch is awesome. I mean, beautiful, beautiful stuff. And then you get to see the effects of the new fear gas on Batman, and it just gives this really cool perspective of Batman. And you have seen him before where he's dealing with the fear gas and it's him about his parents dying or who he could have been, and it's a storyline you've seen all before, but David Finch does, or Greg Hurwitz does it in such an interesting way that you just want to know more. And always, David Finch's art is beautiful, beautiful stuff. This is a book that I recommend to everybody, and I've heard some reviews of this book, and they gave it kind of mediocre reviews. But the reason why is always they say the same thing. This is not Scott Snyder. One thing I love about this series that Greg Hurwitz is doing with The Dark Knight, he's not making this Scott Snyder, or he's not trying to be Scott Snyder. He's being Greg Hurwitz. And some people have been saying that this book is bad just because it's not Scott Snyder. People, let the guy do his stories and let him not be like Scott Snyder. Do you want everybody to be like Scott Snyder? Well, I think the storylines will be interesting, but no. You want individuality. You're getting individuality in here. You're getting a different Batman than you're getting Scott Snyder's Batman. And I like the adult themes that are in here. It's a little different. And it's actually given a great intro to the Scarecrow. I've never been a big fan of Scarecrow, but up to now, this book has just revitalized the Scarecrow in my eyes. And I cannot wait to see where Greg Hurwitz is going to take it next. Because in the last scene in here, you know that this end of the story arc is going to be really action-packed. I cannot wait to see where it's going to go. And also, just seeing the origin of the Scarecrow makes you sad for the guy. I mean, seeing what his father put him through, beautiful stuff. So in the end, I'm going to give Batman The Dark Knight issue number 13 a 4 out of 5. I was thinking about giving it a 5 out of 5, but since it was a really story that you've seen before, knock it down a point. I'm kind of being a little harder on my scoring because I want to give the 5 out of 5s. Not often, you know, when that book comes out, you're like, oh, this is something special. Then I'll give it 5 out of 5 too. So I think I'm going to be stopping my video here because I have to go back into work. Damn work. And it was funny though, before I started this video, I actually started talking and I didn't push record button. Stuff happens. So this is David from the Comic Fix, and I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you guys want for everybody that's doing a Batman line to be like Scott Snyder and to do what he's doing, or do you want individuality in your comics? Is it bad for DC Comics to have so many Batman books and so many Batman-centric books? Let me know below. Alright, this is Dave from the Comic Fix. I'll see you guys later.